Ute is a Kayapo Indian chief from central Brazil. Today he's traveled from his own village on the edge of the Amazon forest to this mining town on a special mission. Ute is here to visit his bank manager. Gold has been found on Kayapo land, and Ute is today checking a village account which gets some $2 million a year from Brazilian miners.
Tudo bem?
Tudo bem. Agora, gente, vamos ver aqui nossa conta e quanto é que está a comunidade, nossa conta, que só para mostrar.
É o seguinte, você tem uma movimentação muito boa aqui conosco?
Sim.
O senhor vai sacar algum dinheiro?
Não. Na
Tudo bem.
sexta-feira a gente chega.
Deep in the vast Amazon rainforest, 500 miles to the southwest on the Xingu River, live another group of Kayapo Indians. They oppose the mining of gold. Their leader, Chief Ropney, is on the radio. To Chief Ropney, Kayapo land is untouchable. Using radio to cover the vast distances, Ropney lectures his brother Kayapo about allowing Brazilian gold prospectors onto their land. Some 2,000 Kayapo Indians live scattered in Brazil's Amazon rainforest. Their aggressive attitude towards other Indians and Brazilian settlers makes them the most feared tribe of the region. Half the Kayapo live on traditional land in the Gorotiri Reserve, where gold was recently found. In return for some of the revenue, they allow Brazilian miners onto their land. 500 miles away, on the Xingu River in the village of Kaput, live Chief Ropney's group of Kayapo, who oppose this policy. 340 of these Kayapo live completely isolated in the traditional circular village of Kaput. Our story starts with this group and the debate they're having about the gold miners. But today, the village is almost empty. A great ceremonial hunt lasting a month is taking place away in the forest, and Chief Ropney is taking his family downriver to join the hunters. For traditional leaders like Ropney, this is one of the most important events of the year. Terry Turner, professor of anthropology at the University of Chicago, has known the tribe for 25 years.
I've known Ropney since I first began working with the people of Kaput. All his life, he's had to fight off Brazilian incursions into his people's land. Some 50 Brazilians have died in the skirmishes he's fought over the years. He's also an intelligent political leader and diplomat. It was he who persuaded the Brazilian authorities to grant his people the legal title to the land bordering this stretch of the Xingu River.
Ropney flaunts his martial exploits by using a motorboat captured from Brazilians unwise enough to come onto his Kayapo land.
The Kayapo relationship to their land is central to their culture. It is supremely expressed in ceremonial hunting expeditions, which Ropney and his people undertake several times a year, and which last for several weeks.
A great hunting camp has been constructed deep in the forest away from the river. It's a temporary village of some 250 Kayapo from Kaput, which will move every 2 days when the game is exhausted.
The way this hunting camp is organized shows why the Kayapo are such a potent political force. Both the men and women are divided into different age groups, which work collectively in highly organized teams. It's a system based on seniority, with the older men, the heads of households who do the hunting, at the top.
It's now early morning, and the senior men like Ropney, in their important hunting role, leave as a group for the shoot.
Next in the pecking order are the young bachelor youths. They also work together as a group, clearing the trail to the next day's campsite, a distance of 1 or 2 miles. As a group, they too must follow the directions of the senior huntsmen above them. The younger boys also work as a team, cutting wooden racks to hold the large tortoises brought in by the hunters. Once again, they're subservient to the older youths and the men above them. Adult women working in teams build the houses of each new camp. They cut firewood, cook the food, and transport most of the family possessions between camps. Younger unmarried girls work together carrying water and tending the children. The whole system functions smoothly and automatically as a support network for the senior men and their prestigious role as hunters.
Cromare, a senior Kayapo, though not a chief, has been designated leader of the hunt. Cromare is looking for animal tracks away from the main camp.
For the Kayapo, the forest is not merely a source of game animals or edible fruits. It is a world infinitely rich in meanings, where every plant or creature may have a specific use in magic or medicine, ritual or bodily decoration.
Unlike many Amazonian peoples, the Kayapo don't believe in a divine being, nor do they use drugs or alcohol. Even their magic must have practical purposes. Cromare has noted that the bees are fat, so logically, if he rubs them on his hunting dog, it will bring back fat game. Back at the hunting camp, it's early evening, and returning hunters announce from the forest they have taken important game.
Land tortoises are the main prey on this ceremonial hunt. They are the only species of game capable of being stored alive for the month or so that people are in the forest. Then they will be killed at a great feast back in the village, organized to christen a young child with a beautiful name. Pekan, the father of the child being named, acts as the focus for all the intensive hunting activity. The tortoises, as they're brought in, are tied in racks, still alive, and displayed in front of his shelter. Every Kayapo has common names, but only some receive beautiful names. For the child to receive beautiful status, the whole village must participate in the months-long ceremony and hunt. The beauty of the name given by the ceremony is the essence of the Kayapo idea of wealth. This wealth becomes a permanent part of a person's identity. It can't be bought or sold like our money or commodities. Beauty in this sense is one of the highest values of Kayapo society.
Nó mày cái này mà tê tê.
Na me maganda ko tu ya wa bona li ban me ni ne me ya ka bene kam ke jakal kuklu no te no jaji me kukne ya kamaru kuma ya be mane ba tekle mo fu aja me ro ba ro tekle kudu no me maganda ko tu ya wa bona me ku ai ma
In the center of the hunting camp is the men's hut. And as in the village, the men's hut is the center of Kayapo public activities. Each men's age group has its separate sitting place within it. And it's here that the system of respect can be most clearly seen, with the bachelors listening deferentially as senior men strut and orate before them.
Kalau kau dia jual kamnya, kau mana kukuru kam tuan mana? Tuan mana? Nak kata orang mai tu kau ada ke? Mai mana bakal tolongnya? Ke? Kau.
Fueled by the controversy about gold, Kromari begins an oration to the assembled bachelors on the meaning of the naming ceremony.
Ni baru kati, kita moyang, kubeng, kamu nak coyang, mat kau. Bye air bewa negari kamu ada. Apa? Tu apa? Bagang ali ni dah, kubang ali dia mana ben puji. Bang tu je, kau bicara dia ba. Kalau ya ima kata kalau jual jem kuda, kuai ba, kalau kata, gigi lah. Ni ada orang baca yang kumai kan kuda rujuk. Ibu mami nak ibu. Mana? Kum jangan li tu mami aku dua kali kian baru mana? Jangan di kado kerabu. Nenja. Anak kau jangan nenja. Nekai, mami gumeng ni, jual gumeng itu, gumeng. Boleh kau bawa jual. Nekai mau pada ikan, boleh kau. Netuk.
Next morning, the village is on the move again, to a new campsite a mile away, deeper in the forest. Ropney sings to scare away wild animals from the caravan.
Mấy chú bự tung này nó rồi bạn. Mấy chú tung này à. Mấy chú bự tung này. Ôi. Bạn. Bự tung này mấy cô ta tươi coi là vậy thế. À bà trời à phụ. Mua nó mấy chú bự tung nhà này mồm nó. Bà mấy cảm giác à. À đi chứ. Mấy nhau bự cả. Mấy nhau tươi đi cổ. Tam ni mui, mai kuka mare upulutu anu ba me, dijual riba. Mereka, juga aku mai kerut, kute mai loving nol kute pukaya, keren mat.
It took just 1 hour to abandon the old camp. It takes just 1 hour for the women working as a team to construct another. It's now 3 weeks on. In the near-deserted home village of Kapote, an ancient warrior, Mayuri, signals with his lone dance the hunting party is ready to return. Fires are lit to prepare food, and during the night, Pekan has come upriver to supervise the festivities which will lead to the naming of his child. After 5 weeks away from the village, the exhausted hunters are back, now laden with 13 precious racks of tortoises from the forest.
High-pitched wailing or keening from the women reached the young bachelors as they performed their last duty of hauling the 200-pound racks of tortoises into the village circle. Keening is for women what oratory is for men, a stylized form of speech performed by senior women on important occasions like the return of the hunting party. Kromare, as leader of the expedition, ends the hunt by delivering a special chant called Ben. Ben resembles a more stylized form of the senior men's oratory and is normally reserved for chiefs alone.
The hunting party divides. The tortoises are taken to Pekan's house, where he and his family will start the great task of preparing them for the rest of the village. Meanwhile, the older men, the hunters, retire to the men's house in the center of the village.
No, me tung con me kuni con me plat me kuni obat. De me benyajo de plat. Na, me benyajo de plat me kuni obat me mulia bayan kaplan bayan. Moya kuni ya bayan.
Akra king kaju.
Na,
Dire, chamaro king.
ye na. Kame kuni kini. Me bad boy kot. Me bad boy nhưng ga me kuni kinya bông. Nhưng me ko kamu bam kala ke nare moamad kodamak ben nare muwa.
The layout of the traditional Kayapo village of Kapote is similar to that of the hunting camp. The men's house, called nga, the word for center, is in the center of the plaza where the ceremonies are held, with the family households of the women and their husbands around the circumference. The political order of relations among the age groups and the performance of public ceremony have their focus in the men's house. A boy at the age of 8 is removed from his family house around the edge of the circle and goes to live in the men's house, which functions like a boarding school. Here, youths and bachelors learn to behave as a group in relation to the more senior men's and women's age sets. In practice, this means the married men who reside in the households on the edge of the village circle and who use the men's house as a kind of club. When a youth gets a girl he is courting pregnant, he moves up from the bachelor's age group to the group of senior men, and also moves out of the men's house to take up residence with his wife in her parents' house on the edge of the circle.
Baka A is Kromare's son-in-law. He now lives in Kromare's family house. He explains what happened when he first courted Kokaja, one of Kromare's daughters some years ago. Then Baka A moved in with Kokaja into her father's house. Kromari's house contains 28 members of his near kin, his extended family. Kromari's own immediate family, that of his wife's sister, and the families of his 2 daughters and sons-in-law. Here, Baka A has to obey his new parents-in-law just as he obeys the seniors in the men's house. Gold is on Ropney's mind when he begins a fierce oration to the boys and bachelors in the men's house on the true meaning of the naming ceremony, which is about to begin.
The men dance out of the men's house in the first of the climactic rites of the ceremony. These will culminate in the great tortoise feast and the giving of beautiful names to Pekan's child a few days later. The separation of the age groups is now overcome in the continuous line of dancers. The structure of ceremony thus draws together the groups divided in the men's house structure. This unity creates for the Kayapo the beauty that is passed on to the child by the ceremony.
The dancing will go on for 5 days. Hearing that we must depart for the gold-rich village of Goratiri, Ropney, because he cannot write, asked to send a message on our tape recorder, criticizing the Goratiri leaders.
Mana mengo kre kume me bikara me kuni neka gari aku adi aku ma kume kine ni mari mu ku kume nikine kati kwali gari ama pio ka prin pram ticket kwali gari ken karere ya be ket kwali gari ken kar kume ma ken karere ya ket ya ka gari yugri aja na tu ami man me ba ku kra ja ko dai te aku pun kau ambil wala kango.
Another group of 700 Kayapo Indians live in the village of Goratiri in the Goratiri Reserve. From the gold mine they control 10 miles away, Goratiri has an income of $2 million a year. At its airstrip, the 2 village chiefs fly in from Brasilia, the nation's capital. In the first plane is the senior chief, Kanyonk. Totoi, the other chief, flies in a second plane. There are 2 other family members in the party who are equally important. Tapiet, a nephew of one of the chiefs, and Kubani, son of the other. Schooled in Brazilian ways, they've enabled Goratiri to deal with the gold mine and the banking system. In effect, these 2 have become the first Kayapo technocrats. Chief Kanyonk has been in Brasilia trying to see the president of Brazil. Guaratiri has a serious problem. There are rumors that the government want to build a hydroelectric scheme that could flood huge areas of Kayapo land.
Pine Crow, Chief Toto'i's wife, keening in the customary Kayapo greeting over Kuben-i, her returning son. The wailing expresses the sadness she felt while he was away. The new brick houses of Gorotire, built along their Brazilian-style street, together with the men's house made of corrugated iron at the head of the street, exemplify the changes brought by gold and timber wealth.
When Toto'i, the second chief, arrives, a meeting is called for the whole village in the men's house at the end of the street. Gold has brought dramatic changes here. Youths and bachelors no longer sleep in the men's house, but live with their parents instead. Word has got around that Chief Ropney has sent a message criticizing the Guaratiri people. The whole village, including the women, crowd into the men's house to listen to Ropney's words. Chief Kanyonk and his people are angry.
A general debate over relations with the Brazilians and the changes these might bring to their own society is raging among the Gorotire and other Kayapo. This degree of self-awareness about their own culture is in itself a great change in Kayapo history. Central to the debate is what to do about the huge gold mine at Maria Bonita on Kayapo land 10 miles from Gorotire.
The Kayapo were presented with a fait accompli when in 1982 gold was found and 3,000 tough and determined Brazilians invaded.
Que te dê segurança, senão cê dança, senão cê dança. Que te dê segurança, senão cê dança, senão cê dança.
Maria Bonita has become a Wild West frontier post hacked from the jungle. The only way in is by light planes which land on the main street of the town. The Kayapo have managed to keep control of the mine by force of arms, laying down 3 rules for the miners. No guns, no women, and no alcohol. And today, only 4 Kayapo warriors run the site. This is Irio, their leader, son-in-law of one of the Guaratiri chiefs. Irio makes up the 3rd of the 3 Kayapo technocrats who run the gold business. Before a miner is paid by the treasury, he presents himself to Irio, and a percentage of the gold he scratched from the soil is taken by the Kayapo.
Como? 1909.
This is the Brazilian government treasury at the mine. Initially, they offered the Kayapo a tiny percentage of the gold from the mine, but when production quickly rose to $40 million a year, the Kayapo decided to take a 5% share by force.
Some 200 Kayapo warriors seized control of the Maria Bonita mine in April 1985. They did it by occupying the airstrip, the only means of access to the site.
42 e 7 décimos.
Decorated in traditional battle paint and feathers, and armed with war clubs, rifles, and bows and arrows, they cowed the 3,000 miners on the site by this calculated exhibition of savagery. The miners offered no resistance. Now that they are in firm control, the Kayapo successfully police the mine and its shops and inspect the baggage of all departing miners for smuggled gold, with only 4 warriors armed with war clubs. All of this represents a conscious use by the Kayapo of their reputation among the local Brazilians as savage killers.
The success of the Kayapo in seizing and running the mines is a remarkable achievement for an Amazonian Indian people. It is, however, a success which could raise impossible problems ahead. How will the newfound wealth affect Kayapo society and values? And how will they control the miners who've gained a foothold on their territory? As always, the Kayapo's main concern is for their land, and the answer they have come up with is straightforward and simple, if perhaps optimistic.
Ken goya ba ma ye plam ne ye nara ba ma mo ya kuni kin ken goya or be apta ge puka mu akamlere akajo garte kalika alika mo puka no na ane yam goja me bokam ontomo yam goja me ontoten kraja kir moya muru kapran.
Irio returns from the mine to his village of Goratiri. Irio is back because a beautiful naming ceremony is taking place in Goratiri. The ceremony is called the Koko, and again as in Kapote, the whole village must participate. Also getting ready for the ceremony are the 2 other young technocrats, Tapiet, who runs the banking system, nephew of one of the chiefs, and Kubani, who runs the government post here, son of the other chief.
Minha esposa está preparada, pintura, para me pintar. Eu vou tirar a minha roupa, ela vai me pintar. Sempre que eu ando na cidade, que eu uso a roupa que eu estou usando, mas eu volto para minha aldeia, eu tiro a roupa. Aí eu fiquei assim, como era antigamente. Há muito tempo, desde 1975, que eu saí, era um jovem de 12 anos para a cidade conhecer a vida novas, como devem servir a vida dos brancos, né? A administração dos brancos, as contas de matemática dos brancos. Mas ninguém não vai esquecer a cultura, porque os índios Kayapo podem sair desde criança, podem criar fora e volta para a aldeia e pode usar a cultura. Com os índios, para o governo prometeu dar 10% para nessa comunidade Gorotira, mas não foi cumprido o que prometeu para as comunidades, 10%. Enquanto botar 10%, bota 0,1 para a comunidade. Então seria enganos. Coitado, ele não conhece, não sabe as contas. Nós vamos fechar o garimpo daqui para 2 anos. O garimpeiro não vai trabalhar mais na nossa área.
Mas eles não vão ter vontade de sair, não?
Não. Quem era dono, o dono que mandou para sair, foi sair. Quem era dono da terra é nós. Os Kayapo não conhecem cachaça, não dança, não bebe bebida alcoólica, mas hoje, próprios brancos prometeu para o jovem beber bebida alcoólica. Antigamente era nossos bisavós que serviam na nossa própria festa, que representa animal.
The Coco naming ceremony will go on day and night in the village for nearly 3 months. As in Capote, before a beautiful name can be given to a young child, the whole community must take part in the ritual. The ceremony consists of a series of masked dancers involving 2 anteaters, a male and a female. The male circles the female, courting her, and guarding against enemies such as monkeys. The monkeys alternatively escort and harass the anteaters, who, in turn, are watched over by the mysterious Coco masks.
During the 3-month-long ceremony, 3 children from Garatiri will gain beautiful names. Every morning and every evening during the ritual, the children are protected and shelter under the Coco masks.
The Coco masks have the faces of catfish, but also the presence of human ghosts. They are worn by the ceremonial friends or godkin of the child being named. Their role is to guard the child during important ritual transitions, like the receiving of a ceremonial name. Each morning and each evening, the Coco masks are slowly escorted back to their resting places in the houses of the children who will be named. The parents of the name-receiving children don't take part in the celebrations. Instead, they must work to feed the dancers twice a day for up to 3 months, a heavy obligation in a community of 700 people. Dancers sit in the men's house divided into their age groups of bachelors, young married men, and seniors, calling impatiently for food.
Branca and Maiku are the parents of one of the children receiving a beautiful name.
No, can color can gani pukul pioka punya boy kan. Membela juga lebih awam. Nekam, aite gani punya henda, tamne kasha kan. Ali membe kumunyi tadi kunika juga. No.
Gold revenue comes into the community in other ways. The Garatiri chiefs have bought themselves into the 20th century by purchasing a light aircraft and hiring a Brazilian pilot. With the plane in use to patrol their land, the Kayapo have become the first Amazonian tribe to have an air force. Today, Tapayet is on a routine flight, searching for squatters on Kayapo land. Garatiri land is about the size of an average English county. 4 vigilante posts used by teams of armed Kayapo warriors have been set up to frighten off invading settlers. The Kayapo employ these Brazilian workers, paid by the gold, to run the posts.
Seguinte, viu, Tapetinho? Nós estamos sem rancho aqui. Ainda agora.
Eu sei que é o Serra. Você que é o Serra? Vem para fiscalizar, ver se tem alguma invasão, né? Na nossa reserva, pra gente
Tempo desse,
tomar o conhecimento.
Inclusive, desse, o Antônio da Fazenda, ele veio até aqui, aí falou até com o Capitão Canhão que que iam realizar essa picada. E disse que tinha gente aí entrando aí atrás, né? Mas aí nunca mais ele veio, até falou que quando fosse preciso ia precisar de dois para acompanhar, mas nunca mais falou, não sei também.
Another example of gold money finding its way into the community. Goratiri village watching television. But this is no ordinary viewing. They're watching material shot on their own video camera.
Mara me bengo kle baye mara ami yo mo ya marika ji me baye ami ijuare marika ji ne ba me bayo alu ku benyo me kano ni pejo alu ino mun kamalu bi mo kin kamiye me kano ni pejo baye inyo mo ya ijuare ni ku be ku te mari.
This is their own recording of a war dance performed by a neighboring Kayapo village. The chiefs perceive video as a way of storing Kayapo culture. Major Kayapo negotiations with Brazilians are also recorded. When a group of pilots tried to change their contract for flying planes to the mine, the discussion was played back to them afterwards.
You can kube kaben kaiko bit me bengo krema muya yani kaiko ba yani kaiko ya kaji kute tate kube kukla jakano ni pe me bengo krekta mi kukla jakano ni pe ami kaben ni pe me kube kute mari me bengo krek kute mari kaji aben ya alu me kunia ben mo ya omunale kamalu kube kujwa.
The acquisition of aeroplanes and video cameras by the Kayapo is an ingenious use of their gold and timber revenues to protect their own culture.
When Tapayet led the war party of 200 Kayapo warriors to invade the mine and get back 5% of the gold, Goratiri's own camera was there to record this important piece of Kayapo history. With the chiefs controlling the bank accounts, little, if any, real money circulates in Goratiri. This can produce strange paradoxes. Beb Nora has a gold nugget he wants to sell.
Buena pain, ama pra.
Anga.
Mai kaju.
Me plire kaji.
Me pride kunjere kaju.
Na, me plire kunjere kaji.
Kam ama anga pain rachi kam pio kaprin pain kun you krigrire.
Na, tam. Anga me pio kaprin ju.
The traditional circular village plan has been abandoned at Gorotire, but the changes appear to go much further than that. The new Brazilian-style houses tend to shelter single families rather than the old-style extended families. Only 35% of the houses at Gorotire still contain sons-in-law living with their wives' parents, as compared with 85% at Capote. An even more striking change has occurred in the men's house at the head of the street. The young boys and bachelors no longer sleep there as they do at Capote. Instead, they live with their parents until they are ready to marry and set up their own households. Do these apparently interrelated changes represent a major breakdown of Kayapo society? Or, put differently, has the acquisition of gold and other wealth undermined the traditional order of Kayapo society? The answer of the Gorotiri themselves is no. The beautiful naming ceremonies, such as this one, the Kurakang-o, are celebrated, if anything, more vigorously than ever. And the age groups in the men's house continue to organize village activities. The Kurakang-o is unique in that both men's and women's age groups dance together. This is clear as each group dances in a series of concentric arcs. One major side effect of the gold mine is the pollution stretching 10 miles downriver to the village. This doesn't stop the children of Gorotiri from playing in the water, but it has forced the Kayapo to rely more on alternative fishing methods in outlying streams and ponds. One such is the ancient Kayapo method, which they call the attack on the fish. In a pond away from the river, bundles of vines are beaten in the water to produce sap, which deprives the water of oxygen. After a time, the fish are forced to the surface. The actual beating is organized by age groups, with the bachelors and seniors working in separate teams.
While waiting for the fish, Kapran Poi, one of the fishermen, takes issue with charges that Gorotiri is abandoning its culture.
Nega kubenyo moya kubita magbenki nega mei kuni neba me ye ba kamria bera an ye tepia bera an mei projo kute pul kam mei kranyo ko gren jaga ji moya kunia bera an nega kapot kam ne me kaben kai go yami yare nega yepe mramri me bokti me abatai nu re me ya me tan me kum be kura ja pram ne kam kum krai ke ra o mu he ni be ar kai be me ya batai ba me I ma I bam kura ja tumi ma ki ra ye mari ra
So, me kram tingane, me
kunane ami yong ne wai pari ko ya be mre ni be ne bai pari ko ya ja no no ne kama mi yong ne ikre kama ngot omu jadi be
An even more vivid method of instilling the young bachelors of gold-rich Gorotire with traditional age group values is the ordeal called the attack on the wasps. This is a dangerous and painful ritual in which youths of the bachelor's age group must plunge their fists into a wasp nest in a tree high above the ground. Under the unrelenting gaze of the senior men, the bachelors must demonstrate their discipline and aggressiveness by braving the stings and descending the scaffold before they are overcome by the pain.
The Kayapo leader at the mine.
John Puji on beat. John Crampton.
Banba Urawa Mine could be.
My crew. Coming up on move.
You might talk to talk.
Rites like this demonstrate the continuing vitality of the age group system of Gorotire.
For a whole week, the chiefs have remained silent about their visit to Brasilia, the nation's capital. But rumors of the proposed hydroelectric dam are causing concern in the village. Chief Kanyong calls for all the men to assemble in the men's house with their war clubs.
ngô te me ba be puka bin na ka me ba te bin ke me ba mulu bin ke ka ju ka me ba be go kle ba kuni ba ma ki ke ku ne ma be alu ba ye bine ba ye obi ba ke nyu ka me wo yu bal punu me ba ju bal punu ke ka ju ba le me ye ja ba me be go kle ba be go kle apo ba ja ba me ibenya jule ikuni aben kon me ka ben joka ye ka ben ya lenyo
Raiding other tribes, or the Brazilians, was until recently an important way that the Kayapo constructed their own identity. Now I sense that their recent successes in dealing with the Brazilians have had something of the same effect. You can feel their pride in themselves as they dance their traditional war dance. The women with their babies dancing among the men, extending their arms protectively above them, the fate of the whole society at stake. They danced this as they went out to seize the gold mine of Maria Bonita in 1985. I think they'll be dancing it again if the hydroelectric dams start going up on the Xingu River.